Hello, everyone. Today I'm here with head football coach Matthew Bennett. How you doing, sir?
Man, if I was any better, I don't know what I'd do.
I hear you. I hear you. Kind of cool outside now, huh?
Yeah, it was real cool this morning. That's why I got this hoodie on. This is the first time I wore a hoodie in a while. But it feels like football weather. And then you look at the forecast, and next week it's back up in the 70s. It needs to stay like it is now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, let's talk a little bit about last week's game, Batesburg. We came out there 42-14.
Yeah.
Heard it was a dogfight to about halftime, and I guess
That's
Pittsburgh kind of turned it on second half.
It was two. They basically beat us 21-7 in two halves. Um, because it was 21-7 at halftime. They're too good of a team to for you not to take advantage of the opportunities that we had. We turned the football over, which didn't really like us. Um, we usually don't turn it over very often. We got stopped on a fourth down on our opening drive, and then in the in the first quarter, that we forced a turnover, which was great, and then we had a trick play that we practiced all week. When we get a turnover, this is what we're going to do. We're going to come out. We're going to run this play, and we just didn't execute it. It was a. I'd make that call again. It was there. We just kind of in the moment we held the ball a little bit and threw an interception there on the trick play, and then later in the game, Carver throws two picks. One was bad and one was a good play by the DB. But in the first half, it's 13-7 with 49 seconds to go, and we get an unsportsmanlike penalty on an extra point after we score. We go on a 13 play drive. It's 13-0. We go on a 13 play drive, move it right down the field, score, cut it to 13-7 with less than a minute to play in the half, and then a 15-yard penalty that the director of officiating for the high school league, when I sent him the clip, I've got the email where he says, I don't know what the call is there. He reached out to the officials to see what that call was about, and that helps give them a short field, and they throw a deep ball and go up 21-7. We had a coverage bust. I mean, just when you play really good teams, every mistake's magnified, and there's about four plays in the game where it's up for grabs, and somebody's got to make a play, and they made more than we did. And I'm not taking anything away from Batesburg. They're phenomenal. They're a really good offensive football team. Defensively, they're better than I thought they were. They had a good plan for us. They had a defensive end, number 88, Sawyer, and he's a heck of a player, and had an inside linebacker, number 11, who I knew from watching tape he was going to be a problem because he's just very downhill, very right now. And if you don't, as an offensive lineman, if you don't have your eyes up, he'll run by you. And if you have your eyes up and you see him, you better bring a lunch because he was bringing it. But 88, the defensive lineman, really gave us more fits than anything. He's a really good player. But we ran the ball for almost 250 yards. We other than the interceptions, we didn't throw it terribly. I mean, we hit a nice little play action pass against them in a big spot on third and long to cut it to fourth and short, which we ended up converting. We just didn't make enough plays. You got to make a lot of plays to beat a team like that, and they're as advertised. I don't know how many times I said coming off the field Friday night to different parents and my AD, and it's like everybody that talked to me, the first thing I said was, "Man, they're good. They're very good. Batesburg's very talented. Coach Loss has done a great job over there, and offensively they're dynamic. I don't know another way to. I don't know another way to describe them. They can beat you however you want them to beat you. So in the first half we tried to contain that passing game, or we tried to contain the run more in the first half, and then the second half we were like, all right, lighten the box a little bit, because they're the pass game they're starting to be pretty effective. So you lighten the box, and they just hand it to 22, who's a load, and they had a they had a good plan. I mean, they're really well coached. They're not very big up front on the offensive line, but they get after it. I thought their offensive line and ours are kind of similar. Not huge, but they play really hard. And it was. I told our kids after the game, I hope we do everything we can do in the next 5 or 6 weeks to come back to Batesburg.
Mm. Well, I will tell you, it seems like Batesburg teams are always disciplined. They play hard, and they're usually very good teams from middle school on up.
Yeah, I mean they're in the realm of discipline. I mean, Friday night was a heavily penalized football game. We had a lot of penalties, and I think they had twice as many as we did. It was a the officials definitely erred on the side of if you see it, throw it. I mean, there was a lot of laundry on the field, but they were pretty disciplined in between the whistles as far as not a lot of busted assignments or anything like that. And we did some things to put them in conflict. We moved the football. We didn't finish drives, or we shot ourselves in the foot. And that's it's unfortunate. But like I said, now you just got to do everything you can and try to get back to them, because I think I believe our kids believe we could play with them. I don't think it was ever anything like that. I mean, it was when it was 13-7. That was a great atmosphere, and things were, but we can't let the emotions of a tight, big football game get to us to where we go brain dead and let a guy run by us to make it a 2-score game again. So, and then they took the ball opening drive in the second half and marched it down the field. And that was what really good teams do that. They take the next time they get it, if they got a chance to step on your throat, they do it. Mm-hmm. And they had I don't think it was 13 plays. I think they had a 10 or 11 play drive to open the second half, moved it down the field and scored and made it a 28-7. And then you're playing, you're down 3 scores in the second half. You're playing catch up, and you have to get outside who you are. Mm-hmm. And it's not great. It's always better to be up than down. That's a fact.
Yes, sir. Well, one thing about it, it's something different when that team has the number 1 in front of their name.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I would do want to shout out is Zay King. I guess I can mention this now. I came out to practice last week, and Zay was kind of dinged up. He was kind of worried about Zay playing.
Yeah.
And when I told my wife, I said, I feel so bad because the star running back can't even play against the number 1 team in the state.
Yeah.
And then it happened. He ended up playing, which is wonderful. He ended up finishing with 112 yards and a touchdown, right?
Something like that. I know he had over 100 and a touchdown, because our 2 touchdowns were him and Joe, a senior and a freshman, are you 2 touchdown scores. I mean, that's the frustrating part offensively as a play caller. Is if you look at the stat sheet, it's clear we moved the football. We moved the football. We were right as far as things that would put them in conflict and ways we could make some hay, and just mistakes that led to turnovers, and that's where you can't give the number 1 team in the state free possessions, and that's where ultimately, it's my fault. I call the play, so uh, I told the kids that any play that we go through the film and deem a bad play call, I'll definitely wear it. But some of them it's execution, and that's the in this region, Batesburg, we're kind of the new kid on the block in this region because we hadn't been in it in a little while. Um, Saluda and Batesburg and Thurman have all been playing each other the last few years, so it was their first time. It was their first time at Batesburg as a varsity football team. Um, a lot of our guys, so and it was a great atmosphere. I mean, it was a good football game. We just got to execute better, and I think that I mean the turnovers kill you because you really we ran with them for a half, and then under a minute to go in the first half, we shoot ourselves in the foot. So it's a growing experience, growing pains, I guess. It's a learning experience that we definitely need to use rolling into this week because it don't in this region. It's like the SEC, man. It don't get easy. Saluda rolling in here, they got the number one defense in 2A. They've given up like 32 points all year. They're solid. They're a good football team. I've actually went and seen them play. I went and watched them play when they played Chester on a Thursday night. I went and watched that. They're good. They're a good football team. I think they attack games a little differently than Batesburg does. Batesburg always knows in the back of their mind, like, they can be a little bit more risky on defense. They can take a few more chances because if they give up a big play, they're just going to get the ball back. And if they get the ball, they feel pretty good about who they are offensively. And not that Saluda doesn't, but Saluda's had to play two different quarterbacks due to injury, and they're still kind of, offensively, they're not a bad offensive football team at all. They're just, they're getting the quarterback who started the year that got hurt. He's getting back in, and you don't want to overload him. And then the quarterback that was playing well, so, and he plays multiple positions, so they're tough to prepare for. But they attack the game from a defensive mentality. Their defense is really good, and they try to leave it in the hands of their defense as much as they can.
Okay, so you got Saluda coming in Friday, 5-0. Their last game, they shut out Pillion. It seems as if Salute is like you're playing in the SEC East. You leave Batesburg, you come into Saluda, and then in a couple of weeks, on Thurman, at Stone Thurman. So like you said earlier, I think last week, sometimes you play the big boys with a tough schedule to get you ready for the playoffs.
Ain't no doubt. I mean, well, these games, when you play in a tough region, and like growing up, Gaffney's always been in a tough region. Then when I was coaching at Boiling Springs, we were in that region where it was like, Spartanburg, Dorman, Burns, and Gaffney wasn't in the region when I was at Boiling Springs, but they were a non-region opponent that we played to get ready to play Spartanburg, Dorman, Burns, and all that. And then at Clinton, we were in the last year I was there and we won the region. We were in a region with Chester and Woodruff, and before that we were in a region with Chapman and Broome. When you're in good regions, the good thing, even with like the loss to Batesburg, the Batesburg game felt like a playoff game. From the pregame, the mentality, I felt like we were. Believe it or not, despite the turnovers, I feel like we were really focused and locked in. I think we were ready to play. So you get a feel for playoff football when you play in these type of regions. And I know it helps other teams when they come here. Wilson Campbell's a tough place to play. So when people come here, it gets them ready for the bigger atmospheres, and playing at a place like Batesburg when they're the newly crowned #1 team in the state, and you get this experience all builds, and everything you do the first 10 weeks is building to a 5-week stretch. You hope to be a 5-week stretch. So, and at the end of that 5-week stretch, if you've been successful, you're the last team playing. So that's what we're trying to keep in our kids' minds, because this is a playoff game for us. Every game from this point forward affects you in the playoffs, so whether it's seeding or because right now Batesburg's the #1 team in the region. So every team that's playing Batesburg is trying to knock them off. Every team not playing Batesburg is trying to get to where they're right there with them so they can make their game the region championship. So it's a lot of big football games. A lot of big football games left to be played in this region, and Batesburg's not they're not unstoppable, unbeatable. They're really good. So who's to say they could get beat by anybody in the region?
Vanderbilt,
yeah, Vanderbilt, exactly. They could get beat, and then if we win tonight, us and Batesburg are both one loss in the region. This region, there's no telling how it could play out. So you got to go into each week, trying to just go 1-0. That's all I've been preaching since the region started. Just 1-0. Just trying to go 1-0 this week.
So is it fair to say that between all the upper echelon teams in this region, it's not that much of a gap between the teams?
I think you could say that. I mean, there's certainly a difference in depth. Like when you look at it from our standpoint, I mean, we're dressing 25. I looked at Coach Young's roster from Saluda, and he's dressing 60. But as far as and it may be exaggerated, maybe 50 something, but I'm pretty sure it's over 50. But as far as best 11 on offense and best 11 on defense, and the other team's best 11 on offense, best 11 on defense, there's a lot of parity. I mean, there's a lot of good football players in this region. I don't. It's going to make all region, and this region's going to be a big deal, because you're gonna have to beat out some dang football players, because there's a lot of them in this region, and seemingly every team's got 5, 6, 7 guys that are just like, dang, he's a heck of a player, and it's not just about having guys. You also got to have the right guys in the right positions. You got to. It's the old adage. It's the oldest thing in coaching, but you're only as good as your weakest link. So whoever, it's really about who's got the best last 2 or 3 guys on the field. That's what you got to try to look at, because I know as coaches we're all looking for the weaknesses on each other's teams. And, I think once you watch, we trade tape, we get the last 3 games. When you look at the last 3 games of anybody, you can, like, if you watch our tape, like 8's pretty good. Zay's a pretty good football player. 23's a pretty good football player, Gabe Haggett. 12, Joe Moore. Like, the hardest thing to believe about him is he's a freshman. Our quarterback plays both ways. He's a heck of an athlete and runs around, makes plays on defense, and then he manages the offense and runs the show. And but it's trying to find those weaknesses, and it's trying to cover them up. If you're on the other side, it's a lot of chess and checkers in this region.
Coach, thanks so much for your time. I know you're a busy man today. You got the JV plan, am I correct?
Yes, sir. They'll be at Saluda over there in the Purple Haze at 6 o'clock.
Sounds good. Could you kind of surmise the game Friday. We need to pack the place out, first of all. And is it fair to say that this is the biggest game of the season thus far? No pressure.
Oh yeah, biggest game of our lives. It's the next one.
I knew that was coming.
Now,
I knew that was coming.
from outside the walls of this locker room, I mean, you got youth night, Hall of Fame night. We're inducting the first class into the Greenwood 52 Hall of Fame at halftime. Now, I won't get to see it. I'll be in the locker room. But, you know, they're doing that Friday at halftime. They're doing youth night before the game. The young the next generation of Wildcats, the little Wildcats, they'll be out there on the field while we stretching, and you know, they're gonna get recognized for the game. They're gonna make a part of the tunnel for us to run through, and you know, I you know, I don't have a lot of good ideas, but that was one that I said, why don't we do youth night on Hall of Fame night so the young kids the little ones can all see the people going into the Hall of Fame. And it'll be Saluda, and it'll be a packed house. You know, it's one thing I've learned, man. One thing I've learned about over here in the number town. There's a lot of rivalry games, which I like. You know, because in Gaffney, everybody hates Gaffney, so every game felt like a rivalry game. But like here, we got Ware Shoals, Abbeville, Saluda, Emerald. I mean, you know, those are just four that you feel like you got to play every year. So having Saluda in the region actually worked out great. Because it went ahead and knocked one of them out in the region. It'll be a big game, big atmosphere, and that's what we got to have. We need to be able to use that home field advantage because Saluda's going to bring a crowd. They should. They hadn't played. You know, they played Pillion last week, but then they missed a game. The hurricane. You know, it'll be. And this is a lot closer for them too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They can come over here, and all the 96 and Saluda people that all have known each other and played. They grew up playing against each other, and now their kids are playing against each other. You know, it's a great atmosphere. I've coached in the game one other time, and it was at Saluda, and I've always been really impressed with how we packed out the away side over there last year. So we're looking forward to it. And I think we got a good plan.
Well, we'll tell you this. It seems like you have a championship pedigree you're trying to build from the ground up, which is wonderful. And I think you can rest assured 96 love their high school football. So hopefully we get a packed house, knock out Saluda, and continue in this SEC East.
That's the plan.
Coach, I appreciate all your time, man. You practice at 4 o'clock today, 5 o'clock.
Well, we're going to get on the field about 3:45. I'm going to tell them that at the end. I'm going to send them all a message when the bell rings and say, look, we're going to try to get out there a little bit earlier. So we're going to try to be done by 5. So we'll be out from 4 to 5. We should be out there. 4:45 if they're really moving, which they've done a really good job. The way we do our Thursdays, they've done really well really since about week 3. They've done really well on Thursdays about being locked in and getting in and getting out. You try not to overload them on Thursdays because if you ain't got it figured out by Thursday, then you don't need to be doing it on Friday. So we try to keep them all right here.
I see you building, Coach. We appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you, man.
All right, I see you later on deck. Richie Pinkney, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll see him out there today, and I appreciate you, and I'll talk to you soon.
I appreciate you, man. See you this afternoon.
All right.